Welcome to a special edition of Cookbook Junction. Here, I journey beyond the recipes into the people, the places, and the powerful stories that shaped our shared table. I'm your host, Malinda. From Survival to Soul explores the untold stories of African American cooking, from the first published cookbook to the foodways born from survival and transformation. Today we begin with Mrs. Malinda Russell, a free Black woman whose courage, resilience, and refined taste helped her become the first known African American woman to publish a cookbook in 1866. Told not in headlines, but in receipts, as recipes were once called, and through the quiet courage it took to sign her own name to them. I'll also do my best to follow one of her recipes for ginger snap cookies at the end of the show. Malinda Russell was born around 1812 in Tennessee, a free woman of color during a time when most Black Americans were still enslaved. At just 19, she set out on a remarkable journey, one that would change the course of her life forever.
I was born in Washington County and raised in Greene County in the eastern part of Tennessee. My mother, Malinda Russell, was a member of one of the first families set free by Mr. Noddy of Virginia. I am the daughter of Karen, the youngest child of my grandmother, my mother being born after the emancipation of my grandmother. Her children are by law free. My mother died when I was quite young. At the age of about 19, I set out for Liberia, but being robbed by some member of the party with whom I was traveling, I was obliged to stop at Lynchburg, Virginia, where I commenced cooking, and at times traveling with ladies as nurse, and always received the praise of being faithful.
When I first read that Malinda Russell set out for Liberia at just 19, I thought she might have been from that region and she wanted to return home. But I soon realized she wasn't going back to the continent of Africa. She was trying to find freedom in a world that was difficult to obtain. In the early 1800s, the idea of sending free Black people to Liberia was part of a movement led by the American Colonization Society, or ACS. Founded in 1816, the ACS was supported by politicians, clergy, and even some abolitionists. But its motives were complex. Some members generally believed free Black Americans could thrive in Africa and spread Christianity. Others, including many Southern slaveholders, supported colonization as a way to remove free Black people from the United States, fearing they might inspire rebellion amongst those that were still enslaved. With help from the U.S. government, the ACS established a colony in West Africa, eventually naming it Liberia, meaning land of the free, derived from the Latin liber, meaning free. Over the next decades, roughly 12,000 or so African Americans were sent to this colony. Now, life in Liberia was far from the idea promised by the American Colonization Society. The new settlers, many of them free Black Americans, faced devastating hardship. Diseases like malaria took countless lives within the first few years. Those who survived often found themselves caught between two worlds, trying to build new lives on unfamiliar soil, while navigating deep cultural divides with the local communities. A few, like Joseph Roberts, the man who would later become Liberia's first president, rose to positions of leadership. But for many others, the dream of a new beginning turned into a struggle for survival as tensions grew between the settlers and the indigenous people who viewed them as outsiders. But before departing to Liberia at only 19, Malinda secured a letter of recommendation from a local physician, Dr. Moore. He described her as a woman of fine disposition and business-doing habits. But she was robbed in transit and her plan collapsed. She remained in Lynchburg, Virginia, where her life in professional kitchens truly began. She worked as a traveling companion and laundress, and it was in Virginia that she met a freed black woman named Fanny Stewart, who taught her to cook using a very popular cookbook at the time, The Virginia Housewife by Mary Randolph. Years later, she married Anderson Vaughn. They had a son who was born with a disability. Her husband sadly passed away just 4 years into their marriage, leaving her to raise her son on her own. She worked as a laundress to support them both. Eventually, she returned to Tennessee and opened a boarding house and later a successful pastry shop, a business that would sustain her for nearly a decade. But in 1864, Confederate raiders who terrorized civilians during the war invaded her home, robbed her of her savings, and threatened her life. Once they robbed her of her property and everything she owned, she fled north with her son to Michigan, a journey of both survival and reinvention.
By hard labor and economy, saved a considerable sum of money for the support of myself and son, which was taken from me on the 16th of January, 1864, by a guerrilla party who threatened my life if I revealed who they were. Under those circumstances, we were obliged to leave home, following a flag of truce out of the southern borders, being attacked several times by the enemy. Hearing that Michigan was the Garden of the West, I resolved to make that my home, at least for the present, until peace is restored. When I think of returning to Greenville, Tennessee, to try and recover at least a part of my property.
It was 2 years later, in 1866, she published a domestic cookbook, hoping its sales would eventually give her a pathway back to her home in Tennessee to try and reclaim some of her property that was taken from her.
And as I am now advanced in years, with no other means of support than my own labor, I have put out this book with the intention of benefiting the public as well as myself.
While I read those words, I realized this wasn't just a cookbook, it was her lifeline, a declaration of independence printed at a time when few African Americans were even allowed to read or write, let alone publish.
I have been advised to have my receipts published, as they are valuable and every family has use for them.
Malinda's receipts, what we call recipes today, reveal a woman of refined taste and skill. From delicate pastries to custards and savory dishes, her collection reflected both her African American roots and her exposure to upper-class Southern households. And one of her most approachable receipts is from something we still love today, especially my mom: ginger snap cookies. It's a simple receipt, yet open to interpretation. There are no clear measurements, no bake time, and only the mysterious phrase, a quick oven. Back then, ovens were heated by wood or coal, and cooks learned temperature by instinct, by sound, or even by feel. That's what made these recipes so remarkable. They weren't just instructions, they were experience on paper. So today, I'm making Malinda's ginger snaps, interpreting her words in a modern kitchen while keeping her voice as my guide. So for this recipe, I'll need
1 cup molasses, half a cup of sugar, half a cup of butter, and half a cup of boiling water. Add 1 teaspoon of soda and 2 tablespoons of ginger. Pour the boiling water over the butter. Dissolve the soda in the water and butter. Stir it to a cream. Mix all together with flour to make a stiff dough.
Malinda doesn't give an exact flour amount, baking time, or even shape, so I added flour just until the dough is firm enough to roll.
Roll thin and bake in a quick oven.
In 19th century kitchens, a quick oven meant hot, about 375 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit today. When they bake, they fill the kitchen with the same aroma hopefully Malinda once knew. Now I should mention, these won't snap like the box you might know. Texture depends on thickness and bake time. The flavor is a bold ginger with deep molasses, and the look leans more tea cake than factory crisp. After her cookbook was published, not much is known as to what happened to her. I'm hoping she made it back to her home in Tennessee with her son, because her story, from the young woman robbed on her way to Liberia to the widow who published her own cookbook, reminds me that food isn't just nourishment, it's memory, it's resilience, and survival. So in honor of Mrs. Russell and people like her, download the free link to her cookbook, which is in the description box below, and maybe cook something from it, because she didn't just publish this cookbook for herself. She wanted you to have her receipts as well.
This is one reason why I published my cookbook, hoping to receive enough from the sale of it to enable me to return home. I know my book will sell well where I have cooked, and am sure those using my receipts will be well satisfied. Malinda Russell.
I'm Celentia, and thank you for watching this special edition of Cookbook Junction, From Survival to Soul. I hope you subscribe and comment what dish you'll be cooking up next time. Hope to see you soon.